Let's talk about the buyer demand in and around Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So we're talking about sort of the 30,000 square foot view of the buyer demand in our region. When I say central Pennsylvania, let me show you what I mean. I'm sharing my screen with you wonderful people. Here we go. So the heat demand index is a buyer demand index that was created and put together with data from the Bright MLS system, which works in 6 states, including obviously the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So you see that the central PA region right here goes from the Lancaster border, right, with Chester County, all the way through to Fulton and up to Schuylkill. All this area is central Pennsylvania. Obviously, I like to focus right here, these areas right here, Lebanon, Lancaster, all these wonderful places. But let's take a look at buyer demand. That's what we're after right now, is not so much looking at the past. That's why I love this index and I decided to start sharing it. It's predictive. So it takes a look at the heat, the buyer demand, and we can go granular, which is what I love. Take a look at this. So here's that same area, right? Fulton, you've got Chester, and then everything around Lancaster. First thing to note is this light blue area here and this darker blue area here. So the index, if you look at the very bottom, is limited, which is the lowest buyer demand. It's under 70 points in this system. So anything below 70 points is the lowest level demand. Doesn't mean the market is awful there or whatnot, but it means that there isn't as high a buyer demand as in other places. The lighter blue that you see in Berks, Lebanon, Chester County, again, the area surrounding Lancaster, is a slow buyer demand. Again, doesn't mean it's a bad market or anything, just means that the buyer demand is slower there. Then we move up to the next level, which is 90 to 110 points on this scale, is a steady market. We see, of course, Lancaster County is surrounded by markets that are limited or slow, but itself is at 100, which is right smack dab in the middle of what is a steady market. Then we've got a moderate market, which you see the entire area here from Jersey down into Delaware and Maryland and PA. There's only one market that is currently moderate, which is over in Delaware there. And then, of course, is high, which is above 130 points. So let's take a look. I just wanted to give you kind of that broader view. So we're in central PA, at least what Bright describes as central PA. And I thought it was very interesting to see that everything around Lancaster County is either limited or slow, and by at least 20, 21 points for those that are the closest. But Lancaster in and of itself is at 100. It is a steady market. And notice that word. You hear, if you watch my market updates, my county-wide ones, I use the word steady. Lancaster is a very steady, stable real estate market. And so far, we're seeing that this is still true here. Let's go into the county now to take a look. Here we go. There we go. One of the things I love about this index is it gives us an entire zip code map. So the same thing they do for central PA and then the counties, they do for the zip codes. And this is where we really want to pay attention. This is the meat and potatoes of this report and this data. So again, the same numbers, the same system as far as limited, slow, steady, moderate, and high. And we've got a whole combination of all of them throughout the county. So first, we're going to go with the limited, or the markets that are not as hot in terms of buyer demand. And again, this isn't looking at just closed sales or sales price. This takes into account number of showings scheduled, number of showings actually executed, number of offers written. It takes a look at a very granular amount of data to be able to comprise this. So, excuse me, in the slow index, we've got Holtwood, we've got Mountville, we've got Conestoga, Elizabethtown, and Lidditz. It was ranging between 79 and 70 points. So Holtwood is at the border. Lidditz is, at the bottom of there, bordering between slow and limited. So these are those areas there. Now, let's take a look real quick at the limited. Here we go. Sorry, I started kind of in the middle there. So limited, we're looking at Millersville, which is right at the border, 69 points. So if it hits 70, it would be considered slow. Denver, 63, New Providence, 54. We've got Reinhold, Christiana, Gordonville, Gap, Strasburg, which I get asked a lot about, is at a 13. Landisville is at a 10, and Adamstown is the lowest county-wide, the lowest zip code at only 7 points. So these are all the ones that are the lowest, kind of bottom of the range markets. Again, I'm not saying these are awful markets or anything like that, but the buyer demand there is the lowest county-wide. So we already saw the slow. Now let's take a look at the steady, and that's a big chunk. We've got Peach Bottom at 108. Willow Street, I get asked about Willow Street all the time, 107. New Holland, everybody loves New Holland, 105. Quarryville, 92. And Narvin at 90. So again, these are the ones that are just chugging right along. They're not really high, they're not really low, but these are those zip codes that are steadily moving along as far as buyer demand goes. Next, we're going to take a look at the moderate column. So now these are a little bit higher than steady. These are where buyers are looking a lot more. And these numbers range again from above 110 to just below 130. Here we've got Manheim at 128, Stevens, Ephrata, Lancaster, 17602, so the city, Arkin, and Lancaster, 17603, and Columbia. Don't sleep on Columbia. A lot of people inquire from our site and think, oh, Columbia is sleepy, nothing's happening in Columbia. Well, apparently there's some stuff happening in Columbia because it's at the moderate. So everything there is seeing a nice amount of buyer activity, buyer interest. Then, of course, we've got the top tier, the highest level. This is 130 and above. It could go an unlimited amount depending really if the buyer demand is up there. So tip top of the list, county-wide, we're looking at Kirkwood at 284 points. Then we've got Bainbridge at 231, East Earl at 215, Marietta at 195, Kinser at 170, Leola at 155, Mountjoy, one of my favorite places in the county, at 141, and then Lancaster, 17601 zip code at 134 points. So county-wide, we're looking at roughly what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 zip codes that have a tremendously high buyer demand for this month, for the month of February here. This report comes out every single month, and I take a look at it every month, and it helps me understand the market better. So that's what I'm hoping to share with you to give you a better understanding of the market. I'm going to zoom back out here, and you can see where the color coding is. Obviously, the center of the county up north, right? The western parts of the county are very, very hot right now. And this is the buyer demand index. So why does this matter for you? Well, A, if you are a buyer, when you're looking in one of these zip codes, you want to know how competitive that zip code is. You can walk into that zip code without looking at any homes and know right off the bat if you're selecting, Kirkwood or Bainbridge, you know off the bat that these are going to be more competitive. You're likely going to see more multiple offers. You're likely going to see much more competition, maybe more waiving of inspections. You may have to hurry a little bit because homes are then going to be selling a bit faster. In the inverse, if you're looking for a place where the market is not, that demand isn't as hot, maybe you have a little bit more time to make decisions. Maybe you can get more inspection time. Maybe you can negotiate, or your agent would be able to negotiate a better package for you, better deal for you. Same thing on the selling side. You're looking to sell. What do you care about buyer demand? You should totally care about buyer demand if you're thinking of selling, because the buyer demand is what's going to tell you how long it might take to sell your home and how much wiggle room you have between what you think you're going to get and what you're realistically going to get. We were coming out of a market where you put a house on the market and within 30 minutes you had 47 offers at $50,000 over asking price. That market is no longer around. We're not bottoming out. We're not crashing. As you see in the more broad view, Lancaster County is doing well. It's steady countywide compared to everything around it, especially. And even when you look at the regional area. But we have our pockets that are not as hot as others. So if you're selling, you need to know that buyer demand. And let me tell you something else. If you're selling, you need to make sure you hire an agent with a true and tested marketing plan and an understanding of how to market your property. Because if you need to sell and you can't wait and you can't hold on and put it off for a little bit, you need to sell right now, and you're in one of these blue areas, it's going to be harder. It's going to take more effort. It's going to take planning and a strategy to be able to reach the buyers that are out there and get them to see your home. So all agents are not created equal. And the same thing goes for buyers. If you're buying in one of these orange, especially the deep orange areas, you're going to need to make sure you have an agent that's going to hustle, that's going to get it done for you, that's going to really push hard to make sure you are successful. That's what we're after here, right? So whether you're buying or selling, I think this information is absolutely vital for you to know. I hope you appreciate that I'm sharing it with you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Please leave me a comment, send me a message. You can always visit danielortizhomes.com or hit me up at 717-450-7250. I'd love to hear from you. I would love to know what you think. And if there's any other data you would like for me to provide in the future. I'm going to be doing this report. It comes out every single month. And I'm going to start, I read it every month anyway. I review it every month for my clients. So I decided to share it with you. So until next time, I'll see you. Bye-bye.